with the zebroids. When a zebra meets another equine species such as a horse or a donkey, this happens. Depending on what the zebra gets intimate with, they can produce a zorse or even a zonkey. Just look at these things. They're like so strange looking, but on a genetic level, things get even stranger because the two species crossbred such as a horse and a zebra actually have a very different number of chromosomes that make up their genetic code. Now normally this would be a major hurdle when it comes to two different species interbreeding, but when it comes to zebroids, they're just like, screw you, Mother Nature. On a side note, after hearing the word zonkey, I now know what I'm going to call my first child. Excellent. Trotting in at number 9 now, we've got the growler bear. If you just cannot decide which is the coolest bear between a polar and a grizzly bear, well, meet the growler bear, which is a mix between the two. Although the polar bears are found in the Arctic and the grizzly bears in North America, their habitats do sometimes overlap, and when the bears meet, growler bears are born. One possible explanation for this is that global warming is melting the polar bears' icy homes and forcing them south into grizzly bear territory. But now we are on to number 8, which is the beefalo. And now I'm hungry. Unlike a lot of animals on this list, the beefalo is actually fertile, which means they can produce their own offspring. They themselves are the product of crossbreeding domestic cattle, the cows you see out in the field, and American bison. As you can see from the size and shape of these things, they were bred for their meat production, and it turned out their meat tends to be lower in fat and cholesterol than beef and less damaging to rangeland than cattle. I bet their milk is like steroids. But on that note, we're going to talk about the wolf dog, which is our number 7, and I'm going to give you 7 guesses which 2 animals make a wolf dog. I really hope nobody got this one wrong because it is, of course, a canine hybrid of a wolf and a dog. Now, usually the parent that's a dog will be a breed that resembles a wolf, so you're more likely to see a wolf being bred with a German Shepherd than you are with a poodle. That would just be weird. Wolf dogs' appearances can vary wildly, and there is no real way of guessing what they'll look like until they're born, because the traits they inherit from either parent can be extremely random. Now, any pet that has wolf dog heritage at least 4 generations back can be considered a wolf dog. So you guys should check your family tree, and if you see a great grandmother that's a little bit too hairy, maybe you're part wolf dog. But next up, we're going to look at the nar-luger because that is our number 6. As you might have guessed from the name, these are the product of narwhals and belugas. Now, narwhals might look like a fictional cross between a unicorn and a seal, but they are real, and if they are bred with a beluga whale, they make a nar-luger. This occurrence is extremely rare though, and the only properly documented example of it happening in the wild was when scientists found one of them on the coast of West Greenland. They can be mainly identified by their massive heads, which has got me thinking that maybe I'm part nar-luger. It explains a lot. Anyway, we are now halfway through our mashup of the animal kingdom, and we're at number 5, which is the leopard. A leopard is the product of a male leopard and a lioness. The first documented case of this was one that was bred in India in 1910, but they have since been bred in zoos all around the world. Although the crossbreeding of these kind of cats are fascinating to the public, animal welfare groups have criticised the breeding of the leopards. Although they may look really cool, leopards often die as cubs, and if they do make it to adulthood, they have a very painful life with a number of different health problems. So just remember guys, just because something looks cool doesn't necessarily mean it is, like onyx. Onyx sucks. I've been waiting so long for a chance to fit that into a video, but now we're at number 4 and we're looking at camas. If you give a camel from Asia and a llama from South America some private time alone, you will come back months later to find a cama. Well, not quite. They were actually first produced using artificial insemination to create an animal that had the size and strength of a camel, but the more easygoing personality of a llama. Anyone that's ever seen a camel will know they're a bit grumpy. Well, sadly, it didn't go to plan. Camas took after their camel parents and have proved to be very uncooperative with humans. I guess you could really say they've got the hump. Or not, whatever. Let's just move on to our number 3 now, which is savannah cats. Now if you want something a bit more exotic than a normal house cat, then maybe the savannah cat is for you. This is what you get when you mix a wild African cat with an everyday domestic house cat. They gained popularity among breeders in the 1980s, but it wasn't registered as an official breed until 2001. Unlike domestic cats, they are very social creatures. They're also bigger than house cats and can reach 25 pounds in weight. And the best part is that savannah cats actually use litter boxes when they're domesticated. I might get one just to train my cat. Damn you, Sadie. Time flies when you're crossbreeding, and it's already time to announce our number 2, which is wolfins. Now, if this list was made purely on names alone, wolfins would win it for me. But before you guys freak out and are like, wow, no way, this isn't real, whales are way too big. Well, you're technically right, but these whales are called false killer whales. They look a lot like killer whales, but they actually belong to the dolphin family. So when you breed them with a bottlenose dolphin, you get the wolfin, which is exactly half of either parent. Their bottlenose parent has 88 teeth, for example, and their false killer whale parent has 44. The wolfin child will sit right in the middle with 66 teeth. Alright, time for a quick recap of all our weird and wonderful hybrids. We've looked at beefaloes, zebroids, and wolf dogs, but the one hybrid in the world that has captured the public's attention and got people interested in animal hybrids more than any other is our number 1, and it's the liger. A liger is born when a male lion breeds with a female tiger. They are the largest living cats on the planet. Lions and tigers have growth inhibitors in their genes which help to control their size and stop them from growing too big. But when they produce a liger together, these growth inhibitors don't seem to be active, which means ligers can reach incredible sizes. Some female ligers can grow to 10 feet in length and weigh more than 700 pounds. To make things even crazier, you can then breed male ligers with female tigers and lions.
At number 10, we have Kama. So we're going to start off with Kama. This is a cross between a camel and a llama, or kama, you could say. And while you may be thinking, okay, this isn't too wacky, I need to remind you the stats of both parents of this creature. A llama weighs about 130 to 200 kilograms, or 300 to 450 pounds. In comparison, a dromedary or one-humped camel weighs 400 to 600 kilograms. That's 900 to 1300 pounds, which is twice the size. So now we are all thinking, how? I will tell you that this blend was done science-y through artificial means, and the biggest success story was Rama, or Rama, the Kama, or Kama, Rama the Kama, who lived to be 14 years old. And now that we've seen a Kama, let's look at another llama hybrid, the Swama. This fake one. Ah yes, majestic. I can imagine it now, flying before nosediving when it sees I have snacks. Stunning. But on to another real one at number 9, Narluga. While this one wasn't caught on camera, we do have a photo of the skull, and there have been photoshopped interpretations of a Narluga. The skull was given to researchers by an Inuit hunter that was part of a group that caught 3 of these whales during a subsistence hunt. The blend of narwhal and beluga was described as uniformly gray, with pectoral fins shaped like a beluga's and tails shaped like a narwhal's on sciencenews.org. It was confirmed through DNA analysis that the mother was a narwhal and the father was a beluga, and these have been said to not been spotted since this skull was discovered. But it is important to note that humans don't frequently visit the Arctic to whale watch for research or otherwise, so keep that in mind. And yes, I did promise it, have a funny photoshopped animal. This is a beluga horse hybrid, and again, majestic, but I'm kind of like judgy of the balance because it's kind of hard to believe it's like a bipedal animal but has no arms, so like how would the balance work? I can barely balance with my 2 arms. Imagine it's called a belugarse, you can name it for yourself if you like, but what if it falls forward? And then have another aquatic Arctic find, the penguin. This one's honestly creepy and it looks kind of like the villain in a story. So let's get back to the facts. At number 8, we have a hinny. And while you think hinny is just my bad impersonation of RuPaul, well, you're right, but it's something else as well. You may have heard of a mule, but a hinny is the other hybrid equine with similar parentage. Both a mule and a hinny are the result of breeding a horse with a donkey, but a mule has a horse as a mother and a hinny has a donkey as a mother. Let that sink in. Now, both tend to live longer than their parents and are more resistant to disease, but mules are more popular since they tend to be stronger and have better endurance. And now that I've told you about hinnies, let's look at this other fake blended creation, another equine, the horse seal. Moment of silence for how funny this one looks. That's one of my faves. At number 7, we have Zonky. So if hinny wasn't wild enough for you here, for real life, have a Zonky. A blend of a zebra and a donkey, and yeah, it's real. Quite rare though, because it's not as fertile of a species. Also because donkeys and zebras don't have the same number of chromosomes, so very rare. They look like their donkey parent in their physical stature and their zombie parent with their patterned fur, so aka a striped donkey. And while they are rare, they happen every once in a while when there's a love affair between a zebra and a donkey, 2 equine species unalike in chromosomes, in some fair zoo where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Just Romeo and Juliet but with a donkey and a zebra. That was weird. Take it. And it's not as dramatic as Romeo and Juliet, but let me have my moment here, okay? Here's your photo of something else. It's a shark horse. If this was running at you, what would you do? Let's go on to number 6, a leopon. So you've heard of a liger or a tigon, but what about this fanciful cat? It's a cross between a lioness and a leopard. This is one type of cross that's most likely happening in captivity, but not unheard of in the wild. This resulting look is a cat nearly the size of a lion with shorter legs like a leopard, and they have spots like a leopard's but are paler, more like brown instead of black, and males grow short manes, not the big luscious ones. And honestly, they look unreal and kind of fake, as if a lion was spray painted with jaguar spots and mane was given like a bit of a haircut, but super cool. And you know what else is cool? This lion cross between a lion and a guinea pig. A guinea lion. I'm trying to do an accent, I don't know what it is. I can't really imagine being afraid of it because like look at the cute face, like no. Oh, but also look at this cute one, a Squix. Just gosh darn adorable. But let's move on to number 5, Jeep, or Geep. No, I'm not talking about the car Jeep, this is spelled G-E-E-P, and I was probably right the second time saying it's a Geep. This hybrid is a chimera. In short, any Geep has 4 parents because it's the result of a combination of goat and sheep embryos. This mix of embryos is then put in the womb of a sheep or a goat until it's born. A successful Geep that was born had patches of sheepish wool and goatish hair. And whenever these are a success, they aren't able to have babies because goats and sheep have different numbers of chromosomes, as I've said before with the zonkey. But another break from science talk, look at this, a dunny! It's so fluffy. It's amazing, it's from my wildest dreams and I want 10 of them. On to number 4, a zo. This is spelled D-Z-O or D-Z-O. The zo is a hybrid of a yak and a cow. And here's a yak for reference, and here's a cow for reference, and then the resulting zo. Some people call it a yakao, which I think is great because it has a really nice ring to it, kind of like ka-chow. Anyways, a zo has a face similar to a cow, but has larger horns, and it is larger than both of its parents. And my favorite fact, that it can survive at an altitude of over 10,000 feet. Zows have pulmonary artery pressure that's low, which means it can survive breathing in air without risking pulmonary hypertension, aka it has very low blood pressure, so the arteries have less problems. And you know what would give me less problems? Having a spowl. This beautiful fake creature, it's a spider owl. 1, it has better eyeliner than me, and 2, is it spider sized or owl sized? I kinda wanna know because I would take both, but for different reasons. On to number 3, a growler bear. And this blend is becoming increasingly more common, likely due to climate change. Grizzly bears moving further north into polar bear territory, and the two are mingling. One example looks like a grizzly in its face shape and its paws, but has mostly white color that polar bears are known for, because polar bears are white. And what is uncommon is the pair. This is a penguin bear hybrid about the size of a teddy bear and probably really great at catching salmon. Yes, it's fake. Slightly more common is the bowl, an owl bear hybrid. I said bowl, I meant bowel. An owl bear hybrid that is super jacked but wise at the same time. Again, fake. Still adorable. On to number 2, another real one, the wholphin. A wholphin is the result of a false killer whale breeding with a bottlenose dolphin. This and this. Now, this one is a bit misleading. A false killer whale is technically a dolphin species, but it's still a staggering pairing. A wholphin is much bigger than a bottlenose dolphin and a bit darker too. This pairing has been seen in captivity as well as in the wild, and a cool story is that there's a pair of parents of a wholphin, and they were both actually in an Adam Sandler movie, 50 First Dates. So the mother of the wholphin was Punahele, and the father was Anui. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry, I tried. Here's another fake one, an elephant manatee, or fanatee if you will. Kind of brings snorkeling to a new level, and I can almost picture a fanatee just swinging its trunk and using it as a propeller to go forward. Kind of a funny visual. And I'll throw in another one, here's a sharkopotamus. I already knew that a hippo could crush like a 4-foot tall person in their jaws, so like adding that kind of like, it's kind of, if that was in real life I'd be afraid of it, but thank you for that, Gipperama, for providing that visual. But let's go on to number 1, scary animal hybrid. Killer bees. Now, this is a bee that was originally a hybrid of the African lowland honeybee with various other European honeybees. This cross became known as the Africanized bee. It was produced originally with the hopes of creating a bee with higher honey production, which is great intent, but instead it resulted in a more defensive bee. Victims of killer bee stings tend to receive 10 times more stings than from European honeybees, and During the original process of hybridizing, 26 swarms escaped the quarantine where they were produced in Brazil. And that was back in 1957, and the hybrid was spotted in North America by 1985 and the south of Texas by 1990. So that's real. But let's go on to something else. This is a hybrid of a ferret and a duck. So obviously a dare it, right?
Starting off this countdown, we have the growler bear. The growler bear, or the Pizzly bear, is a cross between a polar bear and a brown grizzly bear. This actually happened naturally in the wild, which is kind of hard to believe. Basically, because of climate change destroying the bears' habitats, they started breeding with each other out of desperation, which is actually pretty sad. It's believed that the first growler bear was discovered in 2006. On April 16th, 2006, a hunter named Jim Martell was out hunting when he captured a growler bear. At first, he thought it was just a polar bear, but officials took a look at it and noticed it had strange features. Later, it was determined to be a growler bear, or Pizzly bear. It's really funny to say. In our 9th spot, we have a zorse. Any guesses as to what this animal is mixed with? Well, it's a mix between a zebra and a horse, or sometimes a donkey too. Other people refer to them as zebula, or zebrule, or a zebra mule. These animals were created after crossbreeding a male zebra with a female horse. The offspring look more like a horse than a zebra, but they still got the identifying stripes. The first zorse was created during the 19th century by Charles Darwin. Now they are still around to this day, but they are extremely rare. This is because zorses are infertile or sterile. They can't reproduce on their own. So the only way to get more of these bad boys is to get someone to crossbreed them themselves. Moving on, number 8, we have the jaglion, or jaglion, I don't know. It's a kind of a weird name, not gonna lie, but this animal is a cross between a jaguar and a lion. And these are actually naturally born. The first jaglion was unintentionally bred. It happened when a lion and a jaguar coexisted in the same zoo together. They were raised together and, one thing led to another and boom, baby jaglion. Not gonna lie, these things are beautifully terrifying. They are so unique and cool looking, but also I would never want to come face to face with one. Now, let me share with you a quick little love story between a jaguar named Diablo and a lion named Lola. The two were raised side by side and were inseparable. When Lola got mature, they kept Diablo away from her so that they would never mate. But whenever they were apart, both animals would grow depressed. It got so bad to the point where Lola wouldn't even eat. So they brought them back together, and bada bing bada boom, they had 2 babies together. So cute. Moving on to number 7, we have the human Z. It is so weird and uncomfortable putting this one on the list. But a human Z is a cross between a human and a chimpanzee. Yeah, I already know what you're thinking, but no, not that. Let me explain. Serious attempts have been made throughout the years to cross a chimp with a human. Since we're so similar in a genetic way, people believe that it's possible to do this. Ilya Ivanich Ivanov was the first person to attempt to create a human-chimp hybrid. I believe he started in 1918 and continued these experiences throughout the 1920s. During that time, the Soviet Union was also doing the same experiments. In 2019, rumor has it that a team of researchers from the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in the US successfully completed this. It's kind of creepy, I know. In our 6th spot, we have the Iron Age pig. This is a big, mean old pig, literally. So the Iron Age pig is a cross between a domestic pig and a wild boar. That's just so wrong to me on so many levels. Poor little Miss Piggy. Now, look at this thing. It's huge and looks tough and mean. In fact, they are considered very hostile animals. It's because wild boars are typically more aggressive. That's one of the traits that gets passed along to their offsprings. Now, they get their name because this pig has many characteristics of domesticated animals from the Iron Age period. Hello, there you go, Iron Age pig. It's quite fascinating. These pigs are generally bred in Europe for the sole purpose of selling and eating them. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the green sea slug. As strange as this one is, it's actually really interesting. Honestly though, this has to be the weirdest hybrid on this list. And that's because it's part animal and part plant. Yeah, it's a mix between a sea slug and algae. Yeah, algae. This sea slug was going around eating algae, and eventually the algae became part of its DNA. It's very strange. Soon, green sea slugs were born and contained chlorophyll, just like a plant. In fact, this is the first animal able to make chlorophyll like a plant. They literally can turn solar energy into food. Again, it's quite weird, but also fascinating. In our fourth spot, we have the wholphin, which is really fun and funny to say. So a wholphin is a mix between an Atlantic bottlenose dolphin and a false killer whale. In fact, these are considered very, very rare. The first recorded wholphin was born in 1981 in Tokyo SeaWorld, but sadly, he passed away after 200 days. Now, the first wholphin born in the US was at Sea Life Park in Hawaii in 1985, but she had trouble reproducing. Her baby wholphins sadly passed away. Some say they have seen wholphins out in the wild, but these sightings have never been confirmed. But if you do see one, it's very rare. Coming in at number 3, we have the enviropig. Okay, this one, I take it back. This one is probably the weirdest one on this list. Basically, an enviropig is an environmentally friendly pig. Basically, pigs' excrements are high in phosphorus. This phosphorus then ends up in lakes and rivers and oceans and can cause a boom of algae. So scientists were like, hey, let's just breed a pig with less toxic waste. And that's what they did. Enviropigs are pigs with up to 65% less phosphorus in their excrements. This pig was first created in 1999 at the University of Guelph's farm in Canada. This pig had its phytase gene attached to a piece of mouse DNA. Basically, in the end, it made the pig produce an enzyme to help it better digest plant phosphorus, which is a nutrient in its feed. Voila! From there, enviropigs were born. In our second spot, we have the Belgian super cow. Now, when they said super cow, they weren't joking, because take a load of this cow. It's monstrous. As many of you guys know, cows are my favorite animal, but this one terrifies me. It's massive. Like, look at its muscles. I'm sorry, but no animal should be as ripped as that. So basically, this super cow was created back in the 1800s when Belgian scientists and farmers mixed native cattle with shorthorn cattle. Then over the time, they would select the biggest and strongest offsprings of each variety and get them to breed together. So on and so on, bam, you got this super cow, which is definitely the biggest and strongest. So maybe let's stop doing that because this cow is soon gonna get too big for its own good and like take over the world or something. And in our number 1 spot, we have the human-pig hybrid. Yes, this is a real thing. Scientists at the Salk Institute for Biological Sciences in California have created a human-pig hybrid. Now you're probably wondering, why on earth would they do this? Well, they did this in hopes that one day they could grow human organs inside of pigs and other animals instead of waiting for a donor. So in 2017, an embryo was placed in an adult pig for 4 weeks. Then this was taken out and analyzed. And the embryo survived and contained some human cells. Now they're going to figure out if pig embryos can handle enough human cells to create human organs. It's very creepy in my opinion.